Hey guys, it's me, Crystal, and today I'm going to show you how to make this loom knit scrunchie using chenille yarn. It is a super quick and easy project and make a great last minute gift if you're looking for something like that this year. So to start, I have my 24 peg loom and I have a stitch marker because my loom doesn't have an anchor peg, so that's how I know where my first peg is. And you'll also need your loom hook or your loom pick. And I'm using some chenille yarn for this project. This is Honey Bunny from Hobie. You can use pretty much any chenille yarn that's about this size. Doesn't have to be that one. Here is another color of that yarn. It's really pretty, but it was hard to see it on camera, so I didn't use this for this tutorial, but I did make another scrunchie out of this yarn. You'll also need a ponytail holder, just whatever kind you prefer to use. And then to start, we're gonna make a slip knot. So take your yarn and just wrap it around your fingers and then bring the yarn through that loop and tighten it up to make your slip knot. You're gonna place that on that first peg that we marked with the stitch marker and tighten it up. Once you get it tightened up, you're gonna go to the right and you're gonna E-wrap around each peg, going clockwise. And you're just going to go all the way around your loom. Once you get back to the beginning, you're going to hold that yarn so it doesn't come off of all the pegs, and then we're going to push all those loops down to the bottoms of the pegs. Once you get them all pushed down, we're going to do a U-wrap cast on. So to do that, you're just going to wrap your yarn from the front to the back on that first peg and just hold it in place, and then pull the bottom loop off of the peg going over that top loop, and you're just going to repeat that around for each peg. So real quick, first I'm going to move my tail over to the inside of the loom, and then you're going to wrap around the next peg the same way and hold it in place while you bring that bottom loop off, and then you're just going to repeat that around until you get all the way back to your first peg. Now that I'm back to the front, we're going to go ahead and go back to E-wrap knitting for the rest of this scrunchie. So what we're going to do first is push all the loops down to the bottom of the pegs. And then we're going to start E-wrapping around the first peg and then go around each peg. And you're just doing that clockwise wrap motion until you get all the way around. Once you get back to the front, go ahead and bring the bottom loop off of the peg for that one, the last one you did, and that'll hold your yarn in place while you go ahead and do the rest of them. And you just bring the bottom loop over the top loop and off the peg for each peg. Once you get back to the beginning, go ahead and push all your loops down to the bottoms of all the pegs. And then you're just going to repeat. You're going to do a total of 15 rows of knitting for this, so just 15 rows of this E-wrap knit stitch, and then we will continue on with our scrunchie. Here I'm at my last row, and here I'm just pulling the loops off, real quick, last row. And I got my tube here. I'm going to go ahead and push all the loops down at the bottom of the pegs. And here's how it looks at this point. And now what we're going to do is wrap our yarn all the way around the loom 3 times. And then you're going to go ahead and cut your yarn. And I went a little longer even than that, just for a good measure. And since this is chenille yarn, I'm going to use a lighter and just melt the end so it doesn't shred off on the end whenever I'm sewing around for the bind off. And I'm going to go ahead and thread that onto my yarn needle. And you can just set that aside for now. Just kind of put it over to the side because we still have to do one more step. We're going to turn the scrunchie kind of inside out, bring the inside up like this, and just set it on your desk. Then you're going to grab your ponytail holder, and we're going to bring the scrunchie tube through the ponytail holder. So just kind of push it down there in the middle. There's how it'll look. And then you're going to find that slip knot from your beginning end of the yarn, which is right here. And we're going to put that loop on our starting peg. So the one you have marked with a stitch marker, you're just going to plop that down onto that peg. And this is going to be just like if you were making a loom knit hat with a folded brim. It's the same technique. So we're just putting all the loops from the starting edge onto each peg. And you'll see the loops as you go around. There's just one after the other going around the edge. And then it's really easy to put them on the pegs. So just do that all the way around. Once you get all the loops put on all the pegs, we're going to take the hook and we're going to bring the bottom loop up over the top loop and off the peg, just like when we were doing our E-wraps. And you're just going to go ahead and do that all the way around. Now once you get that done, we're going to do our stretchy bind off. So you're going to grab your yarn needle with your yarn on it, and we're going to come down to the first peg and then up and then one to the left, then down and then up, down and then up. And I'll show you what I mean. We're going to do that all the way around. So here's our first peg. We're going to bring the needle down through that loop and just pull your yarn through, and it's going to get hung up on every peg on the way down, but that's okay. And then just pull that through, and then we're going to go up through the loop to the left of that peg. And pull your yarn through, and then you're going to bring the yarn behind the peg to the right that you just went around, and then you're going to go down through the next loop on the next peg over, and then up through the one to the left, which is the first peg we did a second ago. And then you're going to bring the yarn behind the peg that you just did, the right peg you just did, and then between the next two. And then you're going to go down through that next loop. And then up through the one to the left. Bring it behind the right peg and then repeat. And you're just going to continue that going all the way around, going down and then up, and then bringing the yarn behind the right peg you just sewed through, and continue until you get back to the beginning. Once you get back to the beginning, I like to go ahead and sew through that first peg again, even though we already did it, but just to be safe. And then up through the one to the left of it, And then we're good. Now we've done all of our pegs, and now all we have to do is pop them off of the loom. So just bring each loop off of the pegs. Once you get a few of them off with your hook, you can pretty much just pull them off with your hand. And now we're in the home stretch here, we're almost done. So I went ahead and trimmed the one long piece of yarn just so it wasn't so crazy long, and threaded it onto my yarn needle. And then I just sewed it kind of through so it would come out in the same spot as the other yarn tail, and then tied a knot with those two yarn tails just to be extra secure. You never want your yarn to come undone, that would be no fun. And then go ahead and thread those onto your yarn needle. And all you have to do now is feed them down into the middle of the scrunchie to hide the ends. And just bring it out somewhere a few inches away and pull on those a little bit while you cut it, and then the ends should disappear into the middle. Then you just have to decide if you want the sewn edge to be on the outside of your scrunchie or if you want it to be more in the middle. I like it better in the middle because it kind of hides that seam. So I just roll it around like this until the elastic is close to the seam, and that kind of hides it. But now your scrunchie is ready to be used, and you can wear it on your wrist like a cool 90s kid, or you can just put it in your hair or give it as a gift or whatever you want to do. Here's the black one that I made, and it has a bigger hole because I used a less tight elastic. It was kind of like a thin ponytail holder, so it's a different look. But that is it. These are now done, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please leave a like, comment, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. Here's another video I think you will enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!